Hi guys, Stephen Mendes here with your favorite FA-06, 07 or 08. We're just going to show you how to restore, do a partial restore from a backup. So here's the procedure to load as many or as few of the voices or tones in your backup into your FA-06, 7 or 8 without overwriting what's already in there. You obviously cannot do a full restore. So when you press the menu, you press Utility, and instead of doing restore, you come down here to import studio set or tone. When you press select, it reads, those are the backups, the SVD files and what they have in. If you need to change the folder to the input folder, or you have other folders, you can go wherever you have it. It might be in the import, or it might be in the FA folder under backup. But make sure you have the right folder. Then you just select the SVD file from which you want to get the information. The file info list over here tells you how many tones of all the different categories that you have. Say we want to get from the bottom one here, we would press select. Now we see that we have import selected sources, studio sets, acoustic instruments, all the various types of synthesizers that we have. Now only user voices are shown here, so you can go across the list to find the particular type of tone that you have, whether it's analog modeling synthesizer or a PCM tone, a drum kit, or whatever it is. And then when you have found the tone that you want in the particular category, you can go up and down in it. You would select by pressing the mark. Of course, if you want, you can mark all, but if you mark all, then you have to have enough memory to be able to do them. So assuming that you just want a few, you will press the mark and it will put a little asterisk next to it. Then you can go to another one and you can come down here and you can select another one and mark that, and it remembers them in all the various categories. And then when you're completely selected all the tones you want to import, you just press the import button. So that's selecting any tones out of a particular saved backup that you might have. You press import, and it now comes to where you want the destination, where you want to put it. So you want to make sure that it's next to an initialized tone, because if it doesn't say init tone, it will obviously overwrite something that you already have. And now what you're seeing here is the marked items. You see that you have one marked SNA, acoustic instrument, one marked SNS. And so we're just going to import those two from two different categories. So when we press the execute, it will put them into the first init tone, because that's what's highlighted here. You have an asterisk next to init tone. It will automatically put them into the first init tone for that particular category. So we press execute and it says, are you sure? And it takes a while to process because it's got to read through the entire backup. If you have quite a lot of tones, it could take a while. But what happens here is, because it's only two, as soon as it finds them, it does the import. Now you will say, well, gosh daddy, where in the instrument are these things? What you really need to learn now, and this is an important thing, maybe I should make another video on this, is that you can come down here. Remember, we're only dealing with user tones, not preset. So you can come down here, and first you have to come over here and go up to that lock, and you have to unlock. Right, see? Lock, unlock. So you unlock the category. So that means that when I come here now, I can change from preset to user. I can change from preset to user. And when I go over here, I can change the different types. So in other words, here I have flanger as my first voice in the SNA. White noise 2 is my first voice in the SNS. Actually, I have no drum kits. I haven't made any. My memory is empty. I have white noise here as an PCMS. And I've made no drum tones in the PCMD. So, where is it? Well, remember I'd selected two voices. I'd selected an SNA and an SNS. So let's go back to the SNA and let us move up and come through the various voices. One is the flanger, and notice 4 is the flanger again, because what I did, I read from my backup and I put the flanger was 1 and I put it into 4, which was my destination. Okay, and so it picked the first available destination, so that showed me that it loaded it. I have 2 of them in there now. And when I move on now to the SNS tones, and I come down here, I have white noise, C1, church, C1 again. So the C1 and the flanger were the 2 that it copied into the first init tone. Now, suppose I say to myself, well, I want to undo or get rid of those and get them initialized again. Well, you can, of course, overwrite tones. You don't have to initialize tones. But if you want to initialize a tone, how would you go about doing it? Well, suppose I said, well, I want to get rid of my C1. I don't need to have 2 of them. So what you do then is you hold down the shift and you press tone edit, which is the leftmost soft menu key. And then you go here where it says tone utility and tone initialize. So you press select, says are you sure? And after a second my tone is initialized. So when I come back it says init tone. So I just need to write that back into the position. So I come here now on tone right, press select. So it says init tone now back into C1 when both are saying 4. So when I write, basically I've written the init tone back into that voice. It's a little roundabout way to do it. Remember, you don't have to initialize your tones. You can simply overwrite them if you don't want them anymore. But if you want to have them initialized, because then you at least know that that's a slot which you can use. So it's probably a good idea to do that. Now in the SNS category here, now if I go back, see I have white noise 2, C1, church, and I've gotten rid of my 4 is initialized back like all the others. Thanks for watching the Stephen Mendes channel, and we'll see you soon again.